Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, and a huge thank you to you guys that have left ratings and reviews over on iTunes. I'm convinced it's a big reason why an additional 12,000 people joined us in September. And today's review is from somebody called Action Red, and he says, as the author of several books, I've been interviewed numerous times. It is simply a pleasure to be interviewed by a smart, insightful, enthusiastic journalist like Neil. Me? Maybe he's got me confused with somebody else there. He asked me great questions and there was an instant connection. More a conversation than an interview. Listening to his other podcasts, I can tell he is consistent in his talent and enthusiasm. Well, it's a good job I've got a great face for radio, because I'm blushing a little bit there. So I hope that one was meant for me and it wasn't a review for another podcast. So thank you for leaving that review. But rather than just sit here and squirm, we better get on with today's show. Now, as you know, I'm passionate about how technology is transforming multiple industries and forcing everybody to think differently. And I want everyone listening to this show to stop saying phrases like, well, it is what it is, or we are where we are. And if you hear anyone saying those phrases, give them a little tap on the back of the head. Snap out of it, because I think we need to start exploring the art of the possible. And this is why I invited Rick Burnett onto the show today, and he's the CEO and founder of LaneAxis. Now, I don't want to reveal too many spoilers, but LaneAxis is basically a virtual freight management system that seeks to disrupt the shipping industry by removing middlemen and inefficiencies and directly connecting shippers and carriers via proprietary blockchain network. So essentially, rather than accepting inefficiencies, maybe the trucking industry can move away from outdated tech fraught with paper trails, long wait times and numerous middlemen, and actually take advantage of independent truckers. Intrigued? I hope you are, because I am. So buckle up and hold on tight as I beam your ears all the way to California so we can speak with Rick Burnett, CEO and founder of LaneAxis. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name is Rick Burnett, and I'm the CEO and founder of LaneAxis, which we focus on the supply chain industry on a global scale, looking to build the direct network between shipper, manufacturer, people that need to move product directly to a carrier, transportation, trucking company, track it down to the driver level, and pushing all this functionality into the blockchain.
So, like you said there, it is a virtual freight management system that seeks to disrupt the shipping industry by directly connecting shipper and carriers via proprietary blockchain network. But can you just set the scene a little and tell the listeners a little bit more about exactly what it is and what problems you set out to solve? Because there's going to be some people that are not in that particular industry and unaware of the kind of problems and all the middlemen that are involved.
Yeah, so great question. You know, supply chain affects all of us that are listening to this, because this is the actual food that we eat, the products, clothes that you wear, various different products that you use, consume on a day-to-day basis. And so today it's entrenched in labor processes, phoning, faxing, paperwork. A lot of people wouldn't realize that over 90% of all the movements on a global scale rely on this type of phoning, faxing, and antiquated, outdated systems. A lot of big corporations do have tracking on the internal systems, but anytime they move outside their network, which is a large time on a day-to-day basis, they lose that visibility. So what LaneAxis is focused on is really a three-legged stool. One of the legs being a proprietary blockchain, so standardizing the transportation movement, which is moving product from point A to point B. We're tracking that in real time, pushing the subsets of the contract, insurance verification in the blockchain, the geofence location of the pickup and the delivery in the blockchain, and then all electronic documentation that's verified inside the blockchain. Parallel, which would be the second stool, would be building the actual driver network. The individual, let's call it Facebook for truckers, the socialization piece that these millions of drivers on a global scale can interact, socialize, exchange information, and then utilizing the token inside the network, gain reward system, if you will, for the various different products that they use inside the various different truck stops on a global scale, rebates on gas, consumption of products, food, shower, all the various different things they utilize. And then third would be the integration subsets, because there's a myriad of different integration points that, shippers, manufacturers use. So we're going to standardize that so it's very easy, and within a few seconds be able to click and tender loads into the system and drill directly to the carrier down to the driver level.
So when you set out on your mission to improve this industry, I've got to ask, why blockchain technology? And can you tell me a little bit more about the story behind embracing this technology and why you felt it was not only so important, but also the perfect fit over those more traditional methods?
Yeah, unlike probably other industries, blockchain is a necessity in order to build the network, because today there is a large portion of these loads that's moved by a broker or third-party entity. And so blockchain allows the direct connectivity and to carve out that on an average 30% cost. So can you imagine every listener having a reduction in their food prices and their gas prices and the products that they consume on a day-to-day basis of 30%? Wow. And how do you come up with that? Well, how you come up with that is that's the margin of that or greater today, because there isn't blockchain in this industry. There isn't a trusted source. There has to be a middleman that manages the contract, that manages the insurance, that manages the day-to-day movement, that manages paying the actual delivery of that. So this is a massive $9 trillion industry that, by blockchain being implemented on down to the daily movement, will carve a massive amount of cost savings across the globe.
So, like you said a few moments ago, the trucking industry is currently reliant on outdated tech, fraught with paper trails, long wait times and numerous middlemen, and that all adds up to the cost, because they all take advantage of independent truckers by pitting them in race-to-the-bottom competitors for loads. So where do you begin to tackle that kind of culture where pain points and friction are not only expected, but they're almost accepted, aren't they?
Yeah, so that's really our plea out to the audience, is to get behind, our initiative. We really need to reach our hard cap, which will allow us to run the three-legged stool parallel. So, we have to build this network, which is the socialization piece. So what it does by building that interaction, and that's going to take a groundswell effort at these localized, truck stops to actually get the free app, to have the truck drivers interaction. But what we gain by that is we gain a location-based. As we gain the location-based, paralleling with, we're an existing business. We have patents in the U.S. around shipper carrier optimization platform is, our patent. We have several claims around that functionality. And as we push that into the blockchain and add that functionality of the blockchain, we're building that network so that, and paralleling with the integration. So it's going to be very easy for a shipper to deal directly with the carrier, and it's going to be utilized by the access of our API token. So the environment and the technology and the actual platform network that we're building is free. You have to access it via the access token to utilize the utility portion of it that is the data sets to access the network.
So what were your biggest challenges when setting out to remove inefficiencies and empower truckers to take back control of their country? What kind of challenges have you come across?
Well, the biggest challenge is that inundated in these outdated processes, and in order to change this industry, it takes a massive effort to build the network, because there is no network today.
Yeah.
You can't find a single point access to where there's visibility in the U.S. over 4 million trucks that's moving every day. On a global scale, it's tens of millions. There is no point to go, okay, I know where this trucker is and I know where he's going. So the AI analytic portion of this is going to come in to where we can start doing predictive analytics into this. So the guy can start posting his available capacity, and he knows, a day, 2-3 days in advance where he's going next. And through the analytics, we can start to forecast predictive analytics and then start to reduce. There's a massive amount of what's called deadheaded in this industry, which is actually trucks going empty. And people would find that it'd be amazing in today where technology is, that there is 1 million trucks in the U.S. that move up and down the roads empty every day. On a global scale, you can imagine how many trucks that move empty. And the reason they move empty is not because they don't want to make money and add freight on the back of that to move it. It's there's no visibility. The shipper doesn't know where the carrier's going, or the driver, and the driver doesn't know that there's a shipper in that area that he could pick that up and move it. So what we're going to do is not only reduce a massive amount of cost into the brokerage and third-party logistics that they charge, but then wear and tear on the roads, emissions, the inefficiencies of the trucks that move in empty every day. So this is, layers of efficiency that's brought into a network that today is, running the same as it did 30 years ago.
So we focused on the problems in the industry and how all over the world, a lot of people just accept it as that's just the way it is. But for everyone listening in 165 countries to this conversation, can you help them visualise this alternative future that you're creating, where a unique deployment of smart contracts, GPS IoT tracking and a mobile app that will meet these increased demands for shipping and actually lessen the effects of the current driver shortage?
Yeah, so imagine a single point access to where you have visibility into available capacity, available loads, available space on a truck that's being moved. And as an individual consumer, when you go to the store level or whatever, having a reduction in the cost by an efficiency network that today doesn't exist.
So if we have someone that's listening to us speaking here, that's nodding their head with approval at all the problems you've highlighted and excited about the changes that you're implementing, do you have any use cases that will enable them to understand how you could transform their business too?
Yeah, so actually over 2 years ago, because as I stated, we're an existing company. In May of 2016, we released a published article called Purchase Transportation. And what that research was done was a 4-month research into Walmart and a lot of publicly traded trucking companies that talked about how they reported actual third-party logistics broker loads. And they did it in the form of a purchase transportation. What that means to your audience is a larger trucking company gives for an example, $1,000 movement to move this product from point A to point B, and then they actually get the information from that shipper or manufacturer that wants to move product, and they pay them $1,000, and they don't actually move that on their truck. They then subcontract it out for $500, $600, $700, as much as they can get it, as far as the margin, and as cheap as they can get it to move, which is a brokered load. And then they make that margin and they write that into their annual reports as what's called purchase transportation. So, and it's actually brokered load. So that was 42% of the time. And so to Walmart, that was $1 billion a year in cost. So you can imagine, and that's one company. In the U.S., there's 350,000 shipper manufacturers. So you can do that multiplication into an $800 million industry in the U.S., $9 trillion globally, and then start to see the net effect that, like you said, 165 countries, what that actually means to individual consumers on a global scale.
Fantastic. So can you also tell me a little bit more about your ICO, your initial coin offering, and why you chose that route, and what is the role of the token in all this?
Yeah, so the network will be free. So the token is the access and the API key in order to use the network, the blockchain functionality, verifying the contract deal directly down to the driver level, tracking the electronic documentation. It is the access to the network to build the socialization, which is all the value sets that the individual drivers get. Because you got to remember, a driver can only drive 11 hours in a 24-hour period, so they have a lot of downtime. So there'll be a lot of uses of the access token inside this network. Millions and millions of transactions a day utilizing that token because, quite frankly, it's a free network. So you can imagine the cost savings to the shipper and the increased revenue to the carrier that at a free network that is accessed via the token, and what that actually means to the environment. And then we're going to roll that. Obviously, we're in U.S., so we're focused on the U.S. So as we roll out this, it's the same problem in Europe and all the other countries. There is no network visibility that deals directly with the shippers and carriers.
So how are you going to tackle the big challenge of adoption and implementing your real-world solution? And I suppose as well, I mean, how far away do you think you realistically are from making this a reality?
Well, that's why, we're actually making a plea to, the network of ICOs. We're a real company. We have a real solution, and we need supporters on a global scale to get behind, our token sale. We've actually blocked the U.S. from citizens being able to buy our tokens because of security reasons. So we protected access token on a global scale and protecting the individual consumers that hold the tokens. And for that reason, because our U.S. laws don't allow a token sale, so we in order to protect the environment and the project that we have going on a global scale, we've actually blocked the U.S. even though we're going to deploy it here, which we can, and even though we are a current operating business in the U.S., which we are, we've done that for the protection of where we're going. But we really want to make a plea out to your audience on a global scale to get behind our project. Go to LaneAxis.io. Look at the information that we have. Read our white paper. Read our technical white paper. Reach out to us on Telegram. Ask us questions. But really, what we want to do is we need to reach our hard cap because we need the capital to deploy this. And so the very first thing that we're going to do is implement building that network of individual drivers. Once you build that network of individual drivers, I don't think it would be a very tough sell. And I've spent my career in this industry, so I know. I mean, getting shippers to get a direct connection to carriers and tracking the information that today they don't have visibility and giving them visibility, pushing on blockchain is not going to be a difficult sell, especially when you can say, are you interested in all these feature sets? Oh, and by the way, being able to reduce a 20, 30, 40% reduction in your cost.
So what do the next 12 to 18 months have in store for you guys? Is there anything else you can share with us today? And excuse the pun about the road ahead.
Yeah, so, we're focused on the next couple months on our public sale. It ends December 21st. We have several listing agents, a couple of the larger listing agents that will actually get our token listed. We'll get into the exchange after our token sale ends. We'll distribute it out to the network, and then, we'll spin the groundswell of, building the actual driver network throughout 2019. Parallel that with the blockchain functionality of the network, and hopefully by this time next year, we're starting to get a larger number of daily uses of the network connectivity and the utilization of the token inside the network.
Well, a huge thank you for coming on today. But before I do let you go, could I just ask that you remind the listeners, like we said, listening all over the world, of where they can learn more about what you do, your ICO, join that Telegram community that you mentioned, or maybe just contact a member of your team or download white papers?
Yeah, so if you just go to LaneAxis.io, and, we have intercom, we have all the various different channels and all the social, outlets that are out there. We're on Reddit and Medium. We have, a very good 10,000 plus member Telegram group and growing. We have Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. More than happy to connect with me, Rick Burnett, LaneAxis on LinkedIn. If you have direct email questions, feel free to email me. It's rick@laneaxis.com. I welcome any questions. And, my number's on there. We're on Skype. We're on WhatsApp. So we welcome the listeners to ask us any questions. And, we're here to support our community and our token holders to know that, we're here to answer questions, make them comfortable, and really get behind this product and really change this industry for the better.
There are so many problems in this industry, and I think we've gone through them in great detail today. And what really stands out for me is previously we've all just accepted it. But these emerging technologies, such as blockchain, is actually providing a fantastic opportunity to completely change and transform the entire industry, not just in the US, Europe, but everywhere. And I think that's an incredibly exciting and mouth-watering prospect. So I wish you the best for the future. And more than anything, just a big thank you for coming on and joining me today and sharing that story.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Neil, wish you all the best. And feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions. Appreciate it.
I wish Rick and his team at LaneAxis the best for wanting to use blockchain to eliminate inefficiencies and actually empower truckers to take back control of their industry. And I also love how Rick has envisioned this unique deployment of smart contracts, GPS, IoT tracking, and a mobile app to help them come together to help meet increased demands for shipping and lessen the effects of the current driver shortage. And yes, LaneAxis features include route optimization, freight quality assurance, driver safety logs and weather alerts, but it's exploring the art of the possible that really excites me. Navigating unknown digital waters has to be better than saying, hey, it is what it is, or we are where we are. If something isn't working, let's try something different. But that's my opinion. Am I oversimplifying? Over to you. What are your takeaways from today's conversation? Wherever you're listening in the world, I'm sure you're affected by many of the topics that we've talked about, and I really want to get that out of you. So email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, and I'd love to hear your opinions. And if you felt particularly passionate about what you heard today, send me a message. Let's get you on the show too, because diversity of thought, that's the key to everything. But that's it for today's show, so a massive thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. So work hard, stay humble, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.